No, no, no. Don't do it.
Wake up! Ah, man, that was a nightmare. What was that? Disneyland not gonna happen? This can't be. I mean, come on. You just came back. How can you do this? Let me look some stuff up. Well, that doesn't look good. How about this? That doesn't look good either. You know what I gotta do? I gotta make another video. Well, that was quite a nightmare. Hello again, this is Manny, and I am going to try to go over because Disneyland is not, it's a little foggy right now. The weather outside was a little bit foggy the last couple of days, and it's just as foggy right now what's going on. So I got a little bit of information, so I'll go over that. But before we do, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, because I believe that there is going to be some more news dropping, especially when it comes to Disneyland or Run Disney at Disneyland. And so that way you can stay ahead of the information. Again, you're going to get it on social media. I'll try to make the heads and tails of what is going on and then pass that information on to you. Thank you for being who you are. But let's get to it. So first off, we can go to the runDisney.com page and we'll see this. So when we look at the calendar for 2025-2026 races and we get to Disneyland, race details to come. So I do think that should be changing pretty soon. I think by the end of March we will know something, probably even before that. I think the next couple of weeks we will know something about Disneyland, but there is some scenarios where I think that they might drag it out. And I'll go over that in a little bit. But yeah, first of all, runDisney.com has not been updated. Then second of all, I'm also Club Run Disney, so we got to register for the marathon weekend starting yesterday. We got all this week, and this is what we saw. So we can see the races that we can register early for in 2026, and they're all at Disney World. We don't have any updates for Disneyland. So what does this mean? And it actually could mean nothing. It could mean that that's just the updated information that they have right now, and they might update it, or they will update it once they get the other information. That might just mean what it is. So we're going to go over some scenarios. I have 4 different scenarios of what may happen in the near future. So what are the announcements that are going to be made? Scenario number 1 is status quo. Everything stays the same. They're just basically finalizing with the city of Anaheim where we can run, what the course is going to be. So that way we are going to be getting that information pretty soon. They're going to have registration basically in April. So that might be, it would be a quick one. So you would have to get that information processed real quick. Should I sign up? Should I not? But Disneyland runs have been taking a little bit longer to sell out. So, and I think a lot of people have it in their minds that it's going to be somewhere in January, anywhere between the week after the Walt Disney World Marathon weekend all the way to the very end, going into the first week in February. So it may be something like that at scenario number 1, that everything just stays status quo and they're just kind of stalling with the announcement, but they will announce it pretty soon. So scenario number 2 is going to be a little bit different. So if you guys have been doing Run Disney for a while, you know this is true. They used to have 4 runs at Disneyland. 2 were earlier in the year and 2 were later. 2 were in the fall. So right now they have Halloween, which is in September. So they took the place basically of when Disneyland used to be. The Disneyland Half Marathon, the Dumbo Double Dare, used to be that weekend or around that weekend. But they had another run that they added later in the 2010s, that was the last one that they did, was the Avengers run, which was in November. So that is scenario number 2, that they are just going to postpone a little bit, because it does make sense, and I'll go over that in a little bit too, that you already have the crew ready for September, so the crew will be ready for November, so they can piggyback from one to the other. They can just change focus a little bit and make sure that they get all, the courses set, the merchandise set, all that stuff. But that's scenario number 2. Scenario number 3 is postponement. So because they do have a lot of stuff going on, and I'm going to go over that right now. So everybody thinks that Run Disney is one big umbrella, and it's actually 2. So you got the East Coast and you got the West Coast. So the East Coast, everything is a lot easier. They own the lands. So Walt Disney World owns all the land. So to get the permits, to make sure that the police, the fire department, the EMS, the closers of the roads, everything is set. The permit, everything. It's set pretty quickly. I personally think that they can have up to like 4 or 5 years in advance dates and everything at Disney World. But at Disneyland, because with the exception of the 5K, 10K and the half are in the city of Anaheim, on the streets of Anaheim. So you have to go through the local government to get the permits, street closures, the police, EMS, so forth and so on. They're going to have to do this, and it takes a couple of extra steps. So they are waiting. That's the reason that we have run 3 different runs at Disneyland since they came back, and we have had 3 different courses because things are going on, construction, streets, so forth and so on. And I'll actually say that also. Disneyland next year, starting next year, later this year, early next year, is going to start construction at the parks. They have the Disneyland Forward, and then they have some other projects that they're doing. The adding of Avatar Land, the adding of Coco. It's just down the line. They're going to, the Avengers Campus, they're going to add to that. So that would actually, it can affect the courses that are being run. So it might be something that they say, in the meantime, we're going to postpone it just to make sure that we get this done before we actually, put those runs on again. So there might be something that they announce and saying, hey, we will start the runs again in 2028, 2029, whatever it is. And so that might be a scenario, and that was scenario number 3. Scenario number 4 is that they just cancel the runs. I don't think this is a viable thing that they do. It's not out of the realm. It's not one of those things that is just it can't happen. It can. I don't think it will, because guess what? We just returned. And so I think if they did cancel all the runs, at least for the foreseeable future, instead of calling it a postponement, it would really leave a black eye with Run Disney at Disneyland. Right now, again, they're having trouble selling them out completely, with a few exceptions. The 5K, some of the challenges just sold out because a lot of people with the coast to coast, which brings me to another thing right now, but that I'll talk about right now. But I think it'll just be a black eye. People will, especially the aficionados of people that go there. Crazy people like me might look at going again, but a lot of people will be turned off and say no. The locals will probably go out there because they like running, and they like running at Disney. So that would be scenario number 4. I personally don't think that that's going to happen. That would be the nightmare scenario that I had earlier in the video. But we're going to move on because I have a hidden scenario number 5 that I would like to put out there. And Run Disney at Disneyland, if you're listening to me and you're thinking about postponing or something, this might be a viable solution. So at Disneyland Shanghai, they just announced, and I got to do more research because I don't 100% understand it, but they just announced their runs, which is later on this year, but their distances are just totally different. They're all in kilometers, but they have a 2K, a 3K, a 5K, and an 8K or something to that effect. And so they have different runs throughout the weekend, the long weekend, the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Some runs are on multiple days. So it made me think to myself, all right, what could you do? And you could have a viable solution as having anywhere between a 3 and a 5K on Friday. So like a 3 or 5K, you run in the parks. So we run in the parks. A 3K, we're done a little bit earlier. So it's maybe a 2-mile run, 2.1, something to that effect, 3.5K. And you're running in the parks. You can be done earlier. People will do it because it's a short distance. You're running in the parks. You have more time with characters. That way you can open the parks on time. All right, now we move to Saturday. And for Saturday, for sure, we would have like a 5K. The 5K, again, make sure that you say that we have to be finished an hour before park opens. But you can have the 5K, and now you can keep it in. Now the first 2 days are strictly within Disneyland. Or you can start out outside. We can just cut in real quick and then exit and then come back in. So it's going to be a shorter route. We don't start in Disney or finish in Disney if we stay on the streets down on Disney Way. So that alleviates that problem. Now we would have to enter quickly, run through the parks quickly, and then exit. So that that at least give us a mile and a half inside of Disneyland, the parks. That might be something that's viable. Just have and again, you could put characters inside the park and right outside the Disneyland owned property, so you can have that. So it alleviate those problems right there. And so you have the 5K. And so again, the parks, you're out of the park, so the parks can open up on time. And then the last day you can have a 10K. And again, that alleviates the problem that you have where people run, we finish off at Disney Way, that parking lot that they have there, and runners are not inside of the park. And most runners will be out of the parks by the time that the parks open. So that might be something that they could do. But that might be something viable. You have something like a 3.5K on a Friday, Saturday you have the 5K, and then Sunday you have the 10K. The only problem is going to be challenges. So if you're going to be doing a challenge, the challenge would be the 5K, 10K, so 9.2 miles. Not the biggest challenge, it's not the worst, but it's not the biggest challenge. And coast to coast. So what are you going to do with coast to coast? So my thought process is you can do some kind of challenge, which is just making an extra medal, so forth, and it'd be just like a mini challenge instead of, and you can have Minnie Mouse as the medal for that one because it's going to be a mini challenge. And coast to coast, you just postpone that too until you're able to run, the city of Anaheim's, or you do the construction and you expand the parks and you get to run more in there. So that's going to be something that they can do. But that is a scenario I thought of. I'm going to finish off by saying, what do I think is going to happen? Gosh, this is a hard one. I do really think that they would have a really black eye if they did cancel them, maybe even postpone them. I do think that they will try their hardest to bring some kind of Run Disney events to 2026. I do, in the bottom of my heart, I think that they're trying real hard, and I would like to see them. And that's what I'd like to finish off with saying. I really would like to see the Dumbo Double Dare and the Halloween runs. They've been pretty good, but we also need to remember that the Halloween is hot, so we're going to get to see later on this year what it's like, and hopefully the weather is a lot better and we'll have a better experience. But that might be another reason why they're looking at moving runs around or postponing stuff right now. But now I'm going to throw it off to you guys. What do you guys want to happen? Do you guys want to run at Disneyland? Are you sick and tired of Disneyland? Because I have heard of that before. They said, oh man, he goes, after the first one, after the second one, they just didn't want to run anymore. But comment down below. So we got another video coming out pretty soon. It's going to be about the Springtime Surprise Digital Event Guide. And so I've been going over that. Noticed a couple of things, so that's going to be dropping pretty soon. But without further ado, create a magical day, create a magical run, and guys, see you sooner than later.